The last hours of youngest woman Emilia Carr, 17, death row inmate before execution. In the annals of criminal justice, there are stories that raise profound questions about truth, justice, and the devastating consequences of wrongful accusations. One such story revolves around Emilia Lilly Carr, a woman who finds herself on death row, adamantly proclaiming her innocence. Amidst the backdrop of lies, manipulation, and a love triangle gone terribly wrong, this tale forces us to grapple with the complexities of the justice system and the weight of an irreversible punishment. Join us as we delve into the perplexing case of Emilia Carr and the quest for justice in the face of overwhelming odds. In February 2009, a tragic event unfolded in Marion County, Florida, as Heather Strong was kidnapped and brutally murdered. The person responsible for this heinous act was Emilia Lilly Carr, who was later found guilty in December 2010 and sentenced to death by lethal injection in February 2011. However, the individual sharing this story insists on their innocence and claims to be unjustly sitting on death row due to a web of lies and false accusations. They assert that they had the opportunity to accept a plea bargain that would have spared them the death penalty, but they refused to confess to a crime they did not commit. Emilia Carr, previously known as Emilia Era, was the second of three sisters and reportedly had an IQ estimated at 125 by a psychologist. During her teenage years, Carr reported abuse by her father to her school, but later retracted her statement. In 2004, her father was convicted of attempting to arrange the slaying of his own family and received a prison sentence. Carr had been married twice and had experienced domestic violence, obtaining a restraining order against one of her ex-husbands. Additionally, she had been placed on probation for her involvement in her ex-husband's theft of exotic birds. The story takes a darker turn when Carr became engaged to Joshua Damien Fulham in November 2008. However, Fulham married Heather Strong just 1 month later. Despite this, Carr maintained contact with Fulham and even babysat Strong's children. Complications arose in the relationship, with Fulham being arrested for threatening Strong with a shotgun in January 2009. Carr was later found to have coerced Strong into withdrawing her complaint by threatening her with a knife. As a result, Strong and Fulham engaged in a custody battle for their children. Tragedy struck in February 2009 when Heather Strong mysteriously vanished from her workplace. A month later, her remains were discovered in a shallow grave near MCINTOSH, Florida. Investigators noted Carr's suspicious behavior and multiple statements made to authorities without legal representation. Undercover audio recordings captured Carr discussing details of the crime with Fulham's sister. It was revealed that Carr had lured Strong into a storage trailer where she suffocated her with a plastic bag after unsuccessful attempts to break her neck. Carr's involvement in the crime eventually came to light, leading to her arrest in March 2009. During Carr's trial, her defense attorney argued that her confession should be viewed in the context of her high-risk pregnancy and emotional state. The defense portrayed Carr as a victim manipulated by law enforcement. However, the jury found Carr guilty of first-degree slaying and kidnapping, resulting in her sentencing to death by lethal injection in 2011. Joshua Fulham, Carr's co-defendant and Heather Strong's estranged husband, also faced trial for his alleged involvement in the crime. Fulham was convicted of first-degree slaying and kidnapping, but received a life sentence without parole. Carr later appealed her sentence, claiming ineffective assistance from her lawyer and asserting that she would have accepted a plea bargain if it had been presented properly. In 2017, her sentence was resentenced to life in prison without parole. The narrator reflects on the injustice of their situation, being sentenced to death for a crime they vehemently deny committing, while the actual perpetrator received a life sentence. They maintain their belief in their innocence and emphasize their refusal to accept a plea deal for a crime they did not commit. The case also coincided with changes in Florida's capital punishment laws, requiring unanimous jury decision for the death penalty. Despite the difficulties faced, they remained determined to proclaim their innocence and seek justice. The story of Emilia Carr serves as a haunting reminder of the delicate balance between truth and perception within our legal system. While the courts have rendered their verdict, the lingering doubts and unanswered questions surrounding this case continue to stir debate. As we conclude this journey, we are left contemplating the ramifications of an imperfect system, where lives hang in the balance and the pursuit of justice becomes a precarious tightrope walk. May the truth eventually prevail, bringing solace to the innocent and closure to the victims.